involved in the Slender Man stabbing a decade ago will soon be released. Today, a Wisconsin judge refused to block her release from a psychiatric hospital. Morgan Geyser has spent the last 7 years at Winnebago Mental Health Institute. In January, her release was ordered, but prosecutors asked a judge to revoke it, alleging she was reading gory novels and communicating with a man who collected memorabilia for murders. Geyser's attorney says she only reads what's available to her at the hospital, and all her communication is tracked. The judge did not revoke her release, saying she did not see a risk.
I'm satisfied from what Ms. Portman testified to that there was no reason to stop the process on conditional release and to go forward with the conditional release program and to have the plan developed.
Geyser will have another hearing on her release plan later this month. Anissa Wire, the other girl involved in the stabbing, was granted conditional release in 2021. She will remain under state-ordered mental health supervision until 2039.